Okay, tip number 1, choose the right podcast.
Start with podcasts designed for your level. For example, for beginners, I can recommend BBC Learning's English, The English We Speak. Don't worry, all these useful links will be in the description. And what can you do right now? Of course, practice. Pause and make a quick checklist of 3 topics you love. For example, travel, cooking, sports. Search for an English podcast on one of these topics and write down the title. You connect learning with personal interests.
Tip number 2, use subtitles or transcripts.
Follow along with transcripts while listening. Many podcasts like those on BBC Learning English provide free transcripts. Subtitles help with understanding pronunciation and intonation. Display a short podcast transcript snippet, 2-3 sentences. Underline or highlight unfamiliar words, then guess their meanings based on the context. You improve vocabulary comprehension.
Number 3, focus on short episodes.
Start with 5 to 10 minutes podcasts to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Gradually increase to longer ones. Practice. Challenge to time yourself while listening to a 1-minute part of podcast. Write down as many keywords as you can catch in 60 seconds. You boost listening focus and speed.
Tip number 4, repeat and shadow.
Replay episodes and shadow the speaker by mimicking their words and intonation to improve fluency and pronunciation. Play a short podcast sentence and repeat it 3 times. Try to mimic the speaker's tone and emotion. You practice pronunciation and intonation.
Number 5, pause and note vocabulary.
Pause the podcast to write down new words and phrases. Use apps like Quizlet to create flashcards to review. Practice. Stop the video and write down a phrase you find interesting. Write 1 sentence using this phrase in your own context. You're actively applying your vocabulary. Well done!
Tip number 6, set a listening routine.
Incorporate podcast into your daily schedule like during your commute, cooking or exercising. Write down the time of the day you are mostly likely to listen to podcasts. Write a quick reminder sentence. I will listen to a podcast at and exact time every day. So you build consistency in your routine.
Number 7, practice active listening.
Don't just hear, listen. Focus on key phrases, tone, and expressions. Write down questions to clarify later. Play a podcast clip and ask, what's the main idea? Write a 1-sentence summary. Share summaries with classmates or friends so you develop summarizing skills.
The next tip is engage to follow up practice.
After listening, summarize the episode in your own words. Use the vocabulary you learned in the sentences or conversations. It's very important. Write a question you would ask the podcast speaker if you could. Use this question to start a conversation or post it online in a learning group, so you create conversational opportunities.
Tip number 9, combine with other resources.
Pair podcast with grammar guides, YouTube channels, or books. For example, listen to English We Speak and practice its phrases on SpeechLink. How to practice? Okay, so find a word from the podcast in an app like Quizlet or Anki, add the word to a flashcard deck, and create 1 sentence using it. So you integrate podcast learning with tools.
And the last tip is my favorite. Have fun.
Choose topics you enjoy like travel, food or stories. Engaging content keeps you motivated to learn more. And the last practice, name 1 thing you enjoy about a podcast you have listened to. How does this topic or style make learning more fun for you? So you focus on motivation and enjoyment. By consistently using these strategies, podcast can become a powerful tool to improve your English skills. Happy learning!